It's a people, it's a community, it's a life, it's a heart, it's a spirit.
The heck would you want a picture of a tattoo of $1,000 on your penis for?
The medications that have now come out really make HIV a manageable disease.
Like I said, in today's market, real estate alone has gone up 15%.
So sometimes there is no battle. Lately, if I don't get my musket dirty, that's great with me.
The cops were pushing her and egging her on to get her nuts. They were calling her names.
And then I find that the actors and actresses, for the most part, are like sponges. They soak up whatever you get back to them.
And he kept explaining to me that I wasn't gay, that you cannot be gay.
Religion and spirituality are big topics these days. I mean, the bookshelves, the bookstores are full of them.
Incest, not funny. Midgets, not funny. Incestuous midgets.
We begin our second half hour on this topic. I'd like to remind our viewers that you're watching Talking About, and tonight's topic is dwarfism, and my guests are Betty Adelson, Anna Adelson, and Julie Williams. And we are taking your calls, and we do have a call right now. Joanne, when you are ready, just say hello. Whenever Joanne's ready, we would love to hear her question. Joanne?
Hello? Yeah, hello?
Hi, Joanne. I can barely hear you, Joanne.
Oh, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can. What's your question, Joanne?
Hello? I was wondering if two so-called normal-sized people can have a dwarf baby. Did you hear me?
Yes. Two normal-sized people, the odds of having a dwarf child. We covered that in the first half hour. Could you reiterate it a little bit?
I came in, I just put the show on.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. My mom and my dad are both average size.
I'll hang up and listen, okay?
Excuse me?
Can I hang up?
Okay, if you're having trouble hearing on the phone, just listen through the TV and we'll answer that question for you. Okay.
My mom and my dad are both average size. I'm a dwarf. My brother is average size. It's more common, I think, it's more common or most common to have two average size parents if you're a dwarf. Both your parents are...
Yeah, both my parents are average size. I have one sister who is tall and one who is also a little person. And that panned out based on the genetic recessive dominant combinations and all that.
Okay, so it's just, when the two cells meet, and just depends how they greet each other.
Yeah.
And then also how many times they will manifest themselves.
So, okay. Do you find a lot of blatant employment discrimination takes place?
You'd have to... Me, I haven't found that, no.
Have you... people you've talked to? Is it common?
I think it's lucky to live in New York City where difference is welcomed.
Yes.
And
right here in Queens. Queens is the
common.
most diverse borough, the most diverse county in the country.
Right.
So...
Talking to other dwarfs who live in smaller towns, I think that it is more common there. But here I've never had any problem. That doesn't mean that, of course, I'm sure that it exists.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
It may also... I've been very lucky. I've never had difficulty getting a job, keeping a job. I've been treated very well by my employers. My sister, however, a graphic artist, also a little person, and it was very difficult for her to get in there and get that first job. It took 12 months, and there was some blatant things that she experienced, and that wasn't very many years ago. Now, once she got the first job, there has been no problem since, but that first job, getting in there, was really difficult for her.
Where was your hometown? Where did you move from?
I'm actually from Ohio.
Right.
Dayton, Ohio. Yeah. So
was it small, Dayton, or no?
It's small. Yeah. Compared to New York, it's,
And then there are some other stories, even at the highest levels. One of the most famous persons in the group is Paul Miller, who's Commissioner of Economic Opportunity in Washington, D.C., and he's a Harvard Law School graduate. and he went to the University of Pennsylvania, and when he was out looking for jobs, he sent out his resume. He got 30 interviews and no jobs because he was told people will not respect you. You are, they won't want, quote, a circus dwarf. And they said that in those days to his face. Well, he went on to have to get a law school job and others, and to climb the ladder, and ultimately to be able to work for this kind of thing not to happen to people. So it does happen at many levels, but people have different experiences, and probably it's better today than it used to be.
Okay. Do you find media portrayal is fair? For example, in television programs or films, big character the last couple of years, Mini-Me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that...
I haven't seen any of the movies, so I really can't answer that question about Mini-Me specifically.
Okay. But in general, I mean, even something like Snow White.
Mm-hmm. I don't care. Personally, I don't care. I don't care how things are on the TV. Maybe we'll have different opinions, but I don't. Anything that's on the TV is. I feel like, you know, the entertainment is such a huge industry to fight or to care about, to deal with, to base your life on, and so if people, I don't know.
Not going to go out and carry a picket sign anytime soon?
Right, yeah. Because if someone has a problem with me, if someone thinks about me differently because they saw a dwarf doing something stupid on TV, well,
then they're a stupid person.
The problem is, no, they're not stupid, but the problem would be with their interpretation. You know, and no, I mean, I don't care. I think that if you're trying to make your career as an actor, it's hard for a dwarf to get any meaningful roles. But that's a very small population, and just as it is in the average size world.
Right.
You know, there's a small population who are trying to make their careers as actors. But
Right.
it's just that they're on TV, so a lot of people see them.
Okay. Do you concur?
Actually, I don't have a problem. I think it's a hard business to get into, so if anyone's out there trying to make it in the field of acting, I'm never going to throw stones at what part they are playing. As a consumer and watching, I love it when I see some variety in roles that little people are able to get land and do. It's nice to see other characters portrayed besides just mythical or fairy tale characters. I like to see that, but certainly will never criticize or say, oh, you know, there you go, stereotyping dwarves again.
But it would be nice to see the whole spectrum.
I like to see it. I enjoy it when I see others playing different roles, different professions.
As it is to see any minority being portrayed not as a stereotype in the media.
And there have been some improvements lately, so that Meredith Eaton, who is a dwarf with pseudochondroplasia, was on Family Law, and she had a nice role as a lawyer. And Danny Woodburn was on Seinfeld and also had a pretty decent role and has done other roles. So I think actors crave roles that are more
meaty.
More meaty, that anybody could play, often that would not just be limited, as you said, to mythological kinds of
It reminds people that they're real, that people of short stature with dwarfism, for whatever reason, are real people, living, breathing people. And that seems like a silly thing. Well, of course we know that they're real, but I have been places where people were frightened when I moved, thinking that I wasn't real, that I was this thing, this statue of something in the corner. So, I mean, that does happen. That seems silly. So to see real characters, not just mythical characters, is good. I like to see that.
I guess everybody likes to see a reflection of something they can identify with. I guess that's what it all really breaks down to. So you want the identification. Let's get into family issues now a little bit. Take a parent of a newborn child who's been diagnosed. We touched on this a little bit. What should be done if the pediatrician doesn't know his stuff? How do they contact you? Do they contact you to find out where to go? Do they use web resources? What's the first step?
Well, it's gotten a lot better than it used to be. Most persons were isolated and had to deal alone. Some years ago, some of us who got together in New York and canvassed all the hospitals and sent out literature, and then they would call a home that had a child who was a dwarf, and they would try to get referrals through us. Now they can often go to the web and the internet and find that Anna is the president of the New York Mets chapter, as you did.
Yes, that's how we got to this point, or at least that was step one in getting to this point. And
find out where to begin and how to get good medical resources. When Anna was born, there were two things I wanted. One, good medical resources, and two, to know another family who was raising a child, and three, to know adults who had good lives, because one begins by thinking, will he or she marry, or will they have a good job, and all kinds of questions that can't be answered then. But then to meet people and to see, yes, indeed, they have good lives, to hear there are lots of computer specialists and artists and lawyers and bakers and trolley car operators, and everything under the sun almost.
Starting with the medical, I mean, initially, in your experience, did you get accurate medical information right away?
No. I mean, we saw, most everybody has a story that they saw, had poor, negative experiences from doctors who had seen one other and would not admit the limits of their own knowledge. We, at that time, we were sending people to Johns Hopkins, which had one of the major centers, and a doctor here said, "If you do that, I don't want to see you anymore," even though he'd seen no other dwarf, right, and was doing the wrong thing. So that kind of thing does happen, and but some doctors will at least call and find out and inform themselves if they don't know.
Right. Well, hopefully it would happen less so now, and doctors would try to educate themselves a little bit better.
Right.
But parents need to see that as a precaution. Ask the pediatrician, ask the orthopedic surgeon, ask the neurosurgeon, the speech pathologist, the players that you're working with. Have you worked with dwarfism? If so, what forms of dwarfism have you worked with? And can you tell me some of your outcomes? What have you done? What have been your outcomes functionally, short-term and long-term? I mean, ask those questions. Doctors are trained to know, and that's their job, is to know.
Right.
So they do not always feel like they should say, "Hey, I don't know. You need to go to such and such." When I was a child, we had an orthopedic surgeon who, he was it. That's it. He knew nothing about my condition. We had another doctor the same time say, "We really don't know your condition, but this place does. See what they have to say." So I had two different kinds of doctors in the same time, and we were lucky for that. That we had that.
Okay, and we have a caller right now. We have Karen on the line, I believe. Karen, whenever you're ready, just say hello, and we're more than happy to take your question.
Good evening. I'm
Karen?
enjoying the show. Hello. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you, Karen.
Am I talking a little better now?
Yes.
Okay.
What is your question, Karen?
I just wanted to make a statement and ask a question. I was very struck by the panel. The two little people, they have very distinct personalities, and I just wanted to let them know they come across very well on TV. They speak so beautifully and with such great dignity. And as they were talking about being represented in the television, I was wondering to myself, is there a a theater, like there is a theater for the deaf, is there a theater of little people where they can have their unique expression and their own, the way they live their lives and what they have to say to us. And I can see just from listening to the last 10 minutes, they have a lot to say. Also, I'll just hang up now and listen to that answer.
Okay, thank you, Karen. That's it.
I don't know of any specific, well, thank you, Karen, for your compliment. I don't know of any specific acting troupe or acting theater. No. It's an interesting idea, and probably some of the actors, professional actors, have thought about it, or, you know, I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
And one worth exploring, or one that you might be a little wary of?
I don't know. I'm not an actor, so, you know, that would be a question for an actor.
Well, is it something that you would like to see?
Me?
If you saw it, would you seek it out?
If it was there, yeah, of course I would. Yeah. I have friends who are actors and comedians, and I go see them, yeah. So it would be interesting. It would be interesting.
So, okay, where did we leave off? before Karen, you're talking about...
Oh, well, medical question for parents. Yes. That was, yes, what they should do, or advice for parents.
Okay, so a parent just found the right doctor. Now what? I mean, you've given some of the questions that they should ask, but what other resources beside the medical should a parent seek out?
Well, I think some friends who are experienced, and I think of my own sister when Anna was born, who said to me, really, what you need to think about now is think about, you can't do anything about who she'll marry or what her job will be, but how about breastfeeding, toilet training, taking care of things, essentially looking at your child, loving your child as she is, in the here and now, getting help with any questions, dealing with nursery school and asking other people what they do as you go along, and filling your house with people so that Anna had an older brother. There were always people in the house. We had a climbing toy in the back. There was a lot of hubbub, and I think you want essentially a life like all other lives, of which the dwarfism is a part, but just a part, and then you deal with the specific concerns that come of that, but mostly have a good time living your life and dealing with any crises as they come along through medical people and other persons' experienced friends with dwarfism. Essentially, being essentially positive and of good cheer. It's not a tragic thing to have a child who's a dwarf, even though to begin with people are afraid. It's a shock. It's a shock. But all of these stages of both getting help and of getting to know others.
Just stripping away the layers and getting to the love.
Absolutely.
Did you make that up?
You just came to me. Okay. Let's advance a few years, getting to be of school age. Children can be brutal. I don't know if it's brutally honest or brutally cruel, or a little bit of both. I mean, how can you help other children to become more aware or more accepting? Is it just exposure, or are there things that people can do to help educate their child's peers?
I don't know. Did you do anything specific? I don't remember.
Well, I think you should talk about. I think you should talk about how you dealt with what you experienced in the way of teasing, or what you experienced in the way of any negativity, and how you dealt with it. Maybe that's the way to go.
So long ago.
Are there scars, or I mean?
There's no scars now, though. No, it's made me who I am, and I'm aware that there's a pain in the world, because people who tease are filled with pain, and I'm aware that there's difference, and how beautiful that is, and it's only made me a better person in the end. But of course it was horrible, it was terrible. It was hard being in school sometimes, and it was upsetting, and I did cry. But, you know, it was all right in the end, looking back. But yes, it made
bumpy road, but
but it was never like I didn't want to go to school because of it, because I had tons of good friends, and it was just a part of my life.
How often did it go on, and how much of the total was it? How much teasing was there overall?
Percentage-wise?
Yeah, I mean, was it once a day, once a year, once a month?
I have no idea.
And your experiences?
Actually, I had an interesting experience. I was going to school when laws changed, and there was changes in education where you had to go to, you were no longer allowed to put children with disabilities in a school for children with disabilities. They were to be educated within
mainstream, so to speak.
So I went through, quote, mainstream. So I had an experience of school for just children with disabilities, and then the switch to a, quote, public school, mainstream. That was the most terrifying experience of my life, because it was so, like, I'm leaving this building and I'm going to this building. It actually became probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And survival for me through that change and that transition was my family. My mother and father were very practical, very down-to-earth kind of people. They would always be like, okay, yep, that's tough, now go out there and try again, you know. So I had that behind me to get through those rough spots. It actually got easier and easier, and then became, I had no more difficulties within the first year. So it was a good experience for myself. Not easy. And I do remember the change, and it was a big change. It was very big.
Do you think it's a good idea? Which experience do you think is more appropriate, or a combination for a child?
You know, if you're going to live out here in this world,
you got to be in the world.
Be in the world. I wouldn't want a child to go through that year that I went through. That was such a big change. So I don't know that it happens anymore. I would much rather a child grow into it, not be imploded with it in one day.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on that.
Because I think our physical needs don't have anything to do with learning which school is.
Right.
So they have no place in putting people in different places, because school is to educate, and so sometimes you have to put people with different mental capacities in different classes so that they can learn better. People with dwarfism have the same mental capacity as anybody else, and so therefore they should be put with the same
Is that
thing.
a common misconception?
I don't know.
Is what?
Mental
that
capacity.
we have different mental capacities.
Oh yeah,
I would think so.
I think there is a perception at times. In fact, I had a colleague, say to me once, a year after working together, we were in very professional, roles. I didn't think you'd be as smart as you were. You really are smart. The first time you said something, I was like, wow, And I was well out of elementary, junior high, and high school. This was,
right.
Into my, quote, adulthood. So I do think there's some misconceptions about that.
So, okay. What about self-esteem issues? Jumping back to children, what can be done to help the child maintain positive self-esteem? Is it the mainstreaming, or is it a factor of everything?
I think it's a lot of everything. I mean, no one ever has. Hopefully, people have enough stuff in the environment around them, and their school systems, and their medical services, and their families, to get enough of everything, and then their own internal resources come together and to make a nice, strong person. But people don't always have that. So hopefully, by giving information out, by sharing that helps strengthen the internal resources or the ability to go get the information so that the rest can be tightened up, the support, the external support can be put in place. Because it can be very tight, it can be lonely, it can be a hard experience if you don't have that.
Okay, and getting to support in the last few minutes, Little People of America. Can you give me an overview of the organization?
It's a national organization that has, I think, over 8,000 members, both people of short stature and their families. And it's both it's a place you can go for medical outreach, medical resources, and also social. It's a
social, for example.
There's different there's different gatherings during the year at different levels, national levels, regional levels, to go and be with people of short stature, other dwarfs, and hang out and not necessarily talk about anything to do with dwarfism, but just hang out and be yourself and know others that are like you, and it makes it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And my life was improved incredibly when I joined it, and when I got more involved. Only about for 4 or 5 years now have I been back in LPA, and it's been the best thing ever. If you're thinking about it, do it.
Okay.
If you're
your opinion on that?
I'm a believer you can get it from wherever you can. So there's a value in the organization. There's support there. There's information you can get. There may be times in your life where you need more of it or less of it, depending on what you're dealing with in your life at that time. I would say don't shut the door on anything, and LPA is certainly one avenue that someone can get a lot of potentially helpful things from. So, of course, try it.
Okay, and how can people reach out to LPA?
The website.
Okay, which is?
www.lpaonline.org.
Okay, is there a...
And then there's a 1-800 number, 1-888-LPA-2001, I believe is that right? Will we have it? Or
okay, well, at the very least, the website will be up. Again, I thank you all for being here. And again, you can check out their website, or you can write to me, Box 20713, Floral Park, New York, 11002, www.talkingabout.info, and we are just about out of time, and I thank you again for watching. Good night.